As a child, she was called a mojada, wetback. Remember seeing a sign in a restaurant with her dad in Texas that read, "No Mexicans or dogs allowed." Today, she is one of the most powerful champions of civil and human rights in America.
It is about bringing together all of you.
And despite divisions, is hopeful for the future.
I'm an example of living the American dream. But today, it is fading very fast, and we gotta change it. And that's why I believe, and I do believe we're gonna get through this, okay? I do believe we're gonna get through this.
She is powerhouse Antonia Hernández, a legend in LA in philanthropy, civil rights, and the fight for social justice.
How do you bring those with wealth and a caring heart to those in need?
As president CEO of the California Community Foundation for nearly 2 decades, she's doled out nearly $2 billion in aid for health care, housing, education, and immigration services to millions in LA County's under-resourced communities.
We are the bridge of our common humanity.
With a front row seat to the deep inequities so many face in LA, compounded by the pandemic, Antonia's stealth leadership empowers the voiceless, many of whom, she says, go hungry every night, are unable to afford housing or basic health care or education for their kids.
So we have to ask these questions, of ourselves. Can we be comfortable knowing that this is happening and not doing something about it?
Her understanding of the complex challenges facing so many in LA runs deep. As a Latina who grew up in the projects of East LA, toiled in the fields as a child with her family, and worked hard to graduate from UCLA Law School, she has deep empathy for those in need.
I am those people. Not I was those people, I am those people, okay? That's number one.
And it's that conviction that's always fueled her activism. Straight out of law school, she fought to seek justice for Latinas subjected to involuntary sterilization, as showcased in a documentary called No Más Bebés, or her tenure at the helm of MALDEF. She's dedicated her life to empowering Latinos. As the first Latina staff counsel to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee under then-Senator Ted Kennedy, she focused on immigration and civil rights. Experience she's carried with her to the helm of the California Community Foundation.
My mission is very simple, to improve the quality of life, to open door of opportunity to those who has doors have been closed, and to show the potential of humanity.
Antonia Hernández, President, CEO of the California Community Foundation. She is today's LA Story. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of LA Stories. I'm Giselle Fernandez, and we are coming to you from downtown Los Angeles in the headquarters of the California Community Foundation in the offices of the President and CEO, a woman who's made it her life's mission to fight for the rights of the poor, the immigrant, Latinos, those in under-resourced communities. Antonia Hernández, she's an icon in the fight for civil rights. So great to see you.
And you're so kind, thank you.
Wow, you always address the needs of the underserved in your work here, granting, billions of dollars to nonprofits. But with this pandemic, the city has been able to see the inequities you're privy to every day amplified. How has your work been impacted by this pandemic?
It's really amplified the inequities. It's in our face, food insecurity, the hunger. We've always known that there was hunger. But now it was right there. Rent insecurity, we've known about the homeless, but now more people were homeless. And a new issue that came up that to us is now a priority is the digital divide. We just take for granted connectivity, access to the internet. We have the funds to pay Spectrum, for connectivity. Many people don't. So it's access and it's affordability. When you're earning minimum wage, how can you pay the hundreds of dollars for connectivity when you barely have enough for rent and food? Can you imagine a single mother with a smartphone and 3 kids, trying to connect to do homework. So for us, the digital divide has become a civil rights issue, an issue that the foundation is investing significant funds, because in the 21st century, if you're not connected, you don't have a chance. The other interesting thing that came up is the generosity of individuals.
The silver linings here.
Absolutely. We've raised more funds last year than in the history of the California Community Foundation.
Why do you think that is?
You know, this pandemic has shown us our common humanity and our connectedness, but more than that, through the isolation, it has shown us the yearning that humans have for connection. We want to be connected. We want to hug. We want to talk to people. We want our families. And I think this pandemic has shown us that in many ways, we're all interwoven. And the destiny of the one that has the most is connected with the destiny of the one that has the least. At the end of the day, we're going to make it only if we find our common humanity.
I'm so relieved to find you hopeful, because when you look at literally the expanse of your career, you've been fighting for the same things that right now, once more, are at the forefront. Do you sit there and go, oh my gosh, we're here again?
Not really. You know, for me, I've spent the last, 45, 50 years fighting for civil rights. One thing I've learned is that real change is slow and incremental, but you keep going. You just keep moving. And if you think about the United States with all of its problems, we're not where we were 50 years ago. In racial justice, we have a long ways to go, but we made progress. In many ways, is that we're living the change. We're living the anxiety of the change. And change is uncomfortable. We're having to go through the discomfort of questioning our values. And I think this is what America's going through. In the world, we're questioning our values. We're questioning our democracy. We're questioning capitalism and the growing inequality. And so that American dream that everyone can make it if we work really hard and pull ourselves by it ain't happening for the majority of people. And that's where you see the anger. How do you share power and acknowledge, the contribution of each community in an equitable way? That's what we're going to see. But let me tell you, I've traveled the world. I've lived in the East Coast. There's no place like Southern California. There's no place like LA. I call it my imperfect paradise, because we are the world. Every nation is here, and we're learning, if not to love one another, to live with one another. We're taking from different cultures, and we're becoming more accustomed, and we're learning from one another. And I think we could be a model not only for the United States, but for the world, because where California goes, so goes the nation.
But where the nation is going right now is so divisive, and the demonization of the other. Look what's happened to Latinos, this anti-Latino narrative.
Get back to Mexico!
Yet you remain positive.
I have this joke that I tell people. They love our food. They love our music. They love our dance. They just don't like us. They just don't like us.
How do you change that?
Well, first of all, a simple fact that people don't acknowledge. LA County, 50% of the workforce is Latino. We're the workhorse of this economy. And people hardly ever mention Latinos. We're like we pass through. In Hollywood, is to blame. In Hollywood, if you're Latino, you're either a maid or a drug dealer, and very little in between. And that's not who we are.
Right.
When I was growing up, when I went to UCLA, this was in 1969. They thought I was a rich Mexican, but only rich Mexicans from Mexico could go to. Well, no, I was a poor dirt Mexican from the projects in East LA. I tell this story because it's so significant. My dad was born in Texas, and there was a restaurant in 1956, and I was 7 years old. There was a sign that said, "No Mexicans, no dogs." And my father in Spanish, I mean, we're little kids, me and my two other sisters, says, you're Mexican. Be proud of who you are. You're no better, you're no worse, okay? But never forget who you are. And I think that to me, you know, I control my destiny. I don't take much from anybody, you know, but that's the way I was brought up. And I'm as comfortable in the Maravilla projects as I am in a boardroom.
Mm-hmm. And I understand it was your father who would take you to Chicano and civil rights protests, and that's where you got politically activated?
Yes, my father would take me to the Safeways to protest, you know, the lettuce and grapes. You know, there's 7 of us. As girls, we were always taught that we could be anything we wanted to be. For people to succeed, you only need one thing. One human being to believe in you. One person to believe in you. To say, yes, you can do it, whatever it is. And that was the other thing that drove me. If you told me I couldn't do something,
oh boy,
darn you, I was going to show you.
La fuerza de la mujer.
Exactly, I was going to do it.
What did your dad most teach you?
Values, integrity, honesty, ethics. You know, we worked in the migrant fields. My dad, my mom, and the kids. We all got pushed into this old Chrysler. You know, we go down to Delano, we go down Bakersfield, we know those towns.
You picked fruits and vegetables as well?
Oh yeah, I was a migrant worker. And I love peaches, but I hate
the peach
to pick peaches. I mean, you are in Bakersfield, 104 degrees, and you have to wear a flannel shirt up to your neck because with the sweat and that fuss, it kills you. You name it, I picked it. I am those people. Not I was those people, I am those people, okay? I am very proud to be Mexican. You know, no better, no worse, but I'm very proud of who I am. I think what folks need to know, they know it through the gardeners, all the maids, all of the people that support the lifestyle of the rich and the upper class. What they need to know is that the values those people bring to their home are the values of an entire community, not just Latinos, Asians, hardworking immigrants, you know, the Afghans that are coming out, you know, the children, you know, the Haitians that are coming out. They bought into the mystique of the American dream.
You think it's a mistake?
I think it, to some degree, today, it is. When I came here, it wasn't. I'm an example of living the American dream. But today, it is fading very fast, and we got to change it. We don't have now a sense of the common good. It takes a family, it takes a village, and we have to concede some of our individualities.
You don't see us, you know, in a very grave point, an inflection point?
To some degree, yes, but I'm hopeful that that inflection point will turn. But we're really dealing with, is this country facing its future? And its future is a multi-ethnic, diverse future.
That train has left the station.
It's gone. Demographics don't lie, and demographics have long ago done that. We gotta put our shoes in what's happening in the Midwest and in the white community. Okay, we do. And I will tell you, the changing of our economy, beginning in the 70s, going from an industrial to a technological economy.
We left many people behind.
We left many people behind, okay? You know, this whole issue of, you know, sourcing the world is hitting us in our face because now what we have distribution problems,
We've cut off our nose to spite our face.
Exactly. It's an economic played out in politics. But we gotta pay attention to the income inequality. People have to see themselves rising equally, not being left behind. LA County is the wealthiest and has the poorest. We're the extremes.
The tale of two cities.
We are the extreme. And so we need to work at making it less. People laugh at me because they say I drank the Kool-Aid of the Constitution.
Yeah.
Not really. I always saw the Constitution as an aspirational document that we have not lived up to. And those ideals we have to live up to, and that's what I've devoted my life. But I'm no fool. We're working on creating that more perfect union. And right now we are at that pivotal point that we either swim together or we're going to sink together.
And while we're trying to figure that out, you're granting $2 billion of really needed funding to so many nonprofits.
And we do it in a way to empower those that have no power to speak for themselves, to have a voice. We try to give a voice to those that don't have a voice. We are the glue to our common future.
That's a great place to take a break, but when we come right back, we're going to dive in to the influences that a young Antonia Hernández experienced that fuels her leadership and conviction today, when LA Stories comes right back. You can hear more of this conversation on my podcast, LA Stories Unfiltered. Listen now on the Spectrum News app or wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to LA Stories, everyone. I'm Giselle Fernandez in downtown Los Angeles at the offices of the California Community Foundation with its president and CEO, Antonia Hernández. Thanks so much for allowing us to invade your office again.
Pleasure to have you here.
So when you graduated, really, in an impressive feat from UCLA Law School, you got your citizenship. What did it mean to you to become a citizen?
You know, what I tell folks is that native-born Americans take so much for granted. As an immigrant that went through the process, I don't take for granted. This country is so full of issues, but yet the question and the comment that I make, where else would you want to live?
Right.
I mean, with all its faults, why do hundreds of thousands and millions of people risk their lives to come here?
Even now.
Even now. Because it's still a place of hope. It's not the only place of hope, but it's a place of hope.
When you were a little girl, I read that you were called mojada, wetback. How did that impact you to be taunted like that?
What sticks in my mind is that I was in high school, Garfield High School. I'm a bulldog.
You're a bulldog.
And I definitely am a bulldog. But, it was 12th grade and we were taking advanced English. And the professor asked us to write an essay on what we wanted to be. And when it got back, he put a sad face on my paper and said, "You're not college material."
He wrote that?
And like I said, if you said I can't, I do. And when I got my bachelor's degree from UCLA...
You sent it to him?
No, I went.
The bulldog.
I went and I said, "You don't remember me, but this is what you did." And I told him, I said, "You don't know the harm that you caused."
You held him accountable.
I did, because it's stuck in my mind to this day. Sad face, you're not college material. That's what a lot of teachers do to kids. Remember what I said? You need one person to believe in you. And teachers, all my siblings are teachers. Okay? The influence they have in the lives of impressionable people, you gotta believe.
Well, that makes all the sense in the world because of the Madrigal case. No más bebés, no more babies. This case, you were 26 years old. There's a big documentary that has been made about it. Immigrant Latina women were going to give birth, LA County USC Medical Center, and their tubes were being tied, involuntary sterilization. And you fought to champion their rights.
But you know what I remember most about that case? First of all, my mother had my baby sister in 1968. It could have been her, okay? That was number one. Number two, I told hundreds of women, Latina immigrant women, for the first time that they had been sterilized.
You had to be the one to tell them?
I was the one to tell them.
Oh, how heartbreaking was that for so many?
For a Mexican woman, working class immigrant woman in the 60s, 70s, your value is in your reproductive organs, unfortunately. And to tell a 26, a 27-year-old woman, you're never going to have children again. I mean, here I was sometimes younger than they were,
Right.
telling them that, and that, you know, that fueled me. I mean, as I said, you know, I had the fire in the belly. If you want to see a racist decision, read the Madrigal decision.
The hospital basically said, look, you know, they're having too many babies. This is something for the greater good. How did that even get through?
The judge, he blamed the women, okay, for the culture that they came from. I couldn't find a single doctor to speak up against, you know, the medical profession in LA. I had to go to New York. It was an experience of a lifetime, and I feel privileged to have had that experience.
I felt privileged to know you when I watched the documentary, because it's really there you're able to see the work that you did, the maverick work, giving voice to these women who would otherwise have no voice. You are really big on diversity in philanthropy, meaning the checks shouldn't just come from wealthy white people on the West Side. All people have to invest in their communities, yes?
I want the wealth to come from every community, and we're making progress. I don't want the perception that the giver looks like one and the taker looks like the other. The giver is multi-dimensional, diverse.
What do you consider right now your biggest challenges?
My lack of ability to provide the need to the vast parts of this county. I have what we call a philanthropic desert in Lancaster, Palmdale. Pomona, Covina, Azusa, the southeast cities, Bell, Huntington Park, great need and not enough resources. So to me is how do we build that civic infrastructure so people can help themselves? To me, that's the greatest challenge for CCF.
We have kids going hungry every night.
Every night.
People who just don't even have lights, running water, like in a third world country.
Every night.
Really?
Yes. The need is so great.
So you get up every day and you're on that mission. What are you most proud of?
Actually, I'm most proud of my family. And you know, when I'm dead, it'll be the legacy of the children and the people that I left behind.
And what will be that legacy?
Hopefully of honesty, integrity. And my children, thank God, they're very philanthropic. My father, you know, told us that we were put in this earth to do good. And so to do good is we had to work in the public interest and to make it a little bit better.
You think you've done that?
I'm trying. But you know what? I tell my kids, look, we're on the beach and I'm a grain of sand. But if you start bringing a little bit more a grain of sand and you start doing more and more, the ripple effect will take place. And that's all we can do. It's that ripple effect of movement to a better humanity. I know I'm a Pollyanna.
And an inspiring one at that. And a role model for so many, and an inspiration for so many. Thank you. Antonia Hernández, President, CEO of California Community Foundation, making life better for so many, for so long, and will continue to do so. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Giselle. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for watching another edition of LA Stories. I'm Giselle Fernandez. We'll see you next time. You can hear more of this conversation on my podcast, LA Stories Unfiltered. Listen now on the Spectrum News app or wherever you get your podcasts.